This is your Wednesday Daily Delivery. I am Michael Rand. Again, special week continues. Twins versus Atlanta World Series 1991. I'm going to get right to it because I'm excited about my guest today. Kent Hrbek, star of the Twins for both the 87 and 91 World Series, is with me right now today on Daily Delivery. Kent Hrbek from the 1991 Minnesota Twins is with me today. Obviously, a huge part of that World Championship season. Kent, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I guess I can't complain. It'd be better if I got to watch a little bit of baseball on the field at the ballpark right now, but I don't know. Hopefully they can right the ship.
Absolutely. Well, and, maybe that's a good segue to talk about 91 because, that team, again, we're talking about a team that, wasn't necessarily going great for the whole season. And, the whole worst to first story from 1990 to 91. But, at what point in that season, did this feels like you just kind of flipped a switch and all of a sudden you were off and running. What was it that kind of got you guys going that year?
I guess it had to have been the winning streak that we put together. What was it? 14, 15, 16 games?
15 in a row, I think it was.
Yeah. 15 in a row. I think we knew we had a good team. As a matter of fact, people always ask the question, which team was better, the 87 team or the 91 team? I thought we had a lot better team in 91 than we did in 87 with, additions of guys like Jack Morris and Chili Davis around the team. Gave us a pretty solid starting pitcher right there.
Oh, yeah.
One of the best in the playoffs, and Tapani was having a super year that year as well. So, our starting pitching was better, I thought. And our, Aggie was coming into his own as a reliever then, and as our stopper. Chili gave us a solid DH from, swing from both sides of plate. So we didn't have to mess with him. He was in there all the time. But, I guess it just maybe after that win streak, we got going and we bopped up by first place there. And like I said, I think our team, as far as all around team, was a better club in 91 than it was in 87. But, we had a long way to go yet when we did get to the first place in the middle of, I don't know when it was, middle of June or July or whatever we got in the first place.
Yeah, and it was right. You said the starting pitching was getting you there, and that can get you on a pretty good streak. But that said, at a certain point in the season, you guys were just kind of playing 500 ball. How do you even, how do you retain the confidence at that point to think, hey, this is a season that that could eventually turn around?
Right. Again, just I hate to keep referring back to 87, but we were a 500 team in 87 as well. I think anything can happen when you get a chance to get into the playoffs. Your team gets hot. You get players that are peaking, and it's exactly what we did in 87. We got hot and started playing some great baseball towards the end of the season. And 91 was pretty much the same way. We were battling with the Oakland A's. We always had some great baseball games against the A's that year in 91 with Tommy Kelly and what's his name? The manager, Tony La Russa.
La Russa, yeah. He's still around, by the way.
A's. Yeah, he's back for more. But yeah, when those two guys managed against each other, was always a great game to play in because there was so much managing going on at the time. I thought it was fun to watch and fun to be a part of. But it was the A's team and our team at that time that were really playing well towards the end of the season that year.
Obviously you're Minnesota native. You went through the euphoria of winning a World Series, with the hometown team in 87. Maybe this is a harder thing to remember. Maybe kind of you're living the moment, you're just playing the games. But do you remember a point in 91 where you could feel a belief from the fans start to creep in, like, hey, the fans are starting to pick up on that this could be something special?
Like you said, it's hard to place a time or a point when that did happen. I don't think it happened until Gene Larkin got the final hit that we thought we were going to win or even get there. Same way in '87. Again, I'm going to keep bringing it up, but they both were, because they went Game 7. We had no clue. We had, came back home with losing records. We're down 3-2, both series.
Right.
But even making it into the World Series, we figured if we could get there, we had a chance, because we did the same thing in '87. But like I said, I thought we had a better team, and we're going in and playing Toronto in '91. They had a heck of a ball club then, and we had some huge hits from, not per se the Kent Hrbeks or the Kirby Pucketts, in both those series, but the guys that weren't the big per se marquee names really won both World Series for us, I think.
Well, because of how great, especially the '91 World Series ended up being, and we'll talk about that here, spend the bulk of this show talking about the series itself, but because of how great it was, we kind of forget how you guys kind of steamrolled Toronto, which was a very good team, like you said. That's got to, like you said, the role players and some of the the lesser, the not marquee names played big roles. Having won 2 World Series, I'm sure you can speak to how important it is for guys like that to step up. Obviously, Kirby Puckett has some great Game 6
right.
Does his thing, but how important is it for guys like 15 through 25 on the roster to contribute in those moments?
Well, I think it probably goes to show you, if you just look at who was on those teams in '87 and the other guys that were on in '91. It was not only myself and Puckett, but it was guys like Al Newman, Gene Larkin, Randy Bush. Those 3 guys, complete bench players, both years, both '87 and '91, and played huge parts in all the playoff games and series. You need those players, and you don't ever hear about them as much as I don't know, in today's game. I guess you keep talking about we platoon once in a while, a guy or whatever would come in for play a couple days to give a guy a rest, but those guys were huge. They were the really the straw that stirred the drink, I guess, for us, because they played such important roles, and TK know how to use them in certain spots, and boy, it all came to head with every one of those guys playing a huge part in us winning the World Series both years.
Now, '91 World Series in and of itself, it got dramatic pretty early, and then obviously very late too. When you get into a series like that, where any playoff game is going to feel like every pitch matters, but when the games are by and large so close, when there is that 1 or 2 key plays that ends up defining a lot of the games, how do you calibrate yourself for a game like that, where it is so meaningful, and that you have to be at your very best if you're going to prevail?
Right. It's you're definitely leaning on every pitch. We had so many chances to go ahead in the ball game, and as well as the Braves, they had all kinds of chances to break out into made some base running mistakes, maybe threw the ball wrong base or something, or were deked by players in a couple different circumstances. But it was when you look back at it, and like I said, it's hard to remember, but I've watched a lot of replays of the games and stuff, and literally last year was the first time that I've actually watched a couple of the whole games from start to finish, and don't even remember what I did, because you were so in the moment. You knew you won the ball game, but man, what did I do this at bat? Did I ground out? Did I strike out? I mean, I couldn't find my hind end with both hands when I was during the playoffs, but still defensively, you got to go out there and play and keep your mind. And I think that's what our team did so well. We even though some of the guys struggle at the plate or in the field, they did it in the other aspect of the game, and being solid defensively was a huge play for us in both those series.
I think it's interesting you say that, because I've had that same experience to a much lesser degree, where I'll read something I wrote, several years ago, and I won't even necessarily remember doing it, because you're kind of in the moment. It's a deadline pressure, something like that. It's like, well, I wrote that. Like, you find something in the archives. I think fans have this sense that players remember every single thing that happened, and maybe I'm guilty of that too. In asking questions of athletes, even right after a game, does that kind of followed you through your career, that you're so involved in the moment that the people who remember things better are probably the people that were watching it on TV, and not the people or in the stands, and not the people who were living it and experiencing it in the moment, because that requires concentration and so much, mental energy.
I think it does. Yeah, I've had people say, do you remember when you did that? And it was like, I did. I don't remember it. I mean, because you're not totally, concentrating on what what your at bats were. There's so many other things going on during the game. Defensively, where you're playing this guy, what do we do now? Base running stuff, all this kind of stuff. You kind of lose track, and then again, people bring up plays, and you go, "Geez, I remember that, but I don't remember how that happened." The Ron Gant play is talked about so many times, and you talk about, what is Kevin Tapani doing out in the middle of the field cutting the baseball off? He's supposed to be behind home plate, backing up the play, and he's out cutting the ball off in the middle of. So there's plays like that. People don't realize. I asked a lot of people. I said, "Do you know who threw that ball over to me?" And they say, "No." And I said, "Well, it's Tapani, and he's not even supposed to be in that position at that time." So, there's all kinds of things that went on that some, little things that I remember of the game. And then again, you go back and people ask you about it. This part of the game is like, man, I don't remember that until you watch it and see it again, like you said. And hopefully it's not because of age.
Right.
It's just
right.
It's just what's happened in the. We're talking 30 years ago now.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't remember what happened 30 years ago.
That's a very good point. You brought up Ron Gant, and I was gonna go there, because as I told you before we started recording, I was a big Braves fan, one of the bigger Braves fans around back in '91. I was almost 15, kind of at the height of my baseball fandom at that point. I was living in North Dakota. That's where I grew up, but tons of Twins fan friends, but because of the Braves being on every day at that point, that was kind of the team I had adopted. And, I was living quite a ways from the Twin City, still like 5 hours away. So that was my team. And so that play is I see it a lot differently, obviously, than a lot of Minnesota sports fans do. What, just in your assessment of that play, it happened so fast. It's just the moment you get the out. What if anything do you remember about it, and what have people told you about it over the years? I think there was a bobblehead of it over the years. It's been kind of it became this moment, obviously, in history.
It's definitely the most asked question I get about the '91 series, of course, being involved in the play. And I even to this day don't try to connect through Atlanta when I go flying someplace, because I don't want to be seen in Atlanta, because I know I'm loved there. But the play happened so quick. I caught the ball and went to put a tag on Gant, and everybody says I lifted his foot off the bag. But as you can see, if you watch the thing, and I've explained this to a million people, that my arm is on top of his leg. I wasn't lifting up. He was falling and teeter-tottering over my other leg, and had gone back in. He slides back in. He's probably safe.
Right.
But he teeter-tottered over my leg, and I knew he was, the way his momentum was going, and the way he had leaned on my leg and was falling over, I'd just keep the tag on. I could feel him falling off my off the base, and I just kept the tag on him. And I talked to Drew Coble since then, and that's exactly how he saw it. And if you watch the play with an open mind, you see what happened. You watch it with a closed mind, you want to say I picked him up and threw him off the base, which did not happen. I know you don't understand that.
No. I get it.
I think that's the way the play went. And I think if you look at it and try to dissect it, the whole thing happened, so quickly. And then for the next 5 minutes, Tim McCarver talked nothing but Hrbek pulled him off the bag. Hrbek pulled him off the bag. So that was in everybody's mind right away, as it was in yours.
Absolutely.
Right?
And but over the years, you see, there's countless moments like that in sports history. Some have gone Minnesota's way, some haven't. You can look at the Drew Pearson play from 75. And if you're a Cowboys fan, you're like, well, Nate Wright fell down. If you're a Vikings fan, you say, Drew Pearson pushed him. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it just makes for one of those kind of classic moments and classic debates that will never probably go away. Have you ever talked to Ron Gant about that play?
I have not. I know that he still to this day says I pulled him off the bag. And I, to this day, still say he fell off the bag. So that's where we're at with that. I have done a couple radio shows in Atlanta with radio, and they don't even they don't even hold any punches down there. As soon as a radio show he starts it, that's right what they start in with. So, and it was it was a big play in the game.
Absolutely.
Again, it wasn't. It didn't allow any runs. We could have, Jack could have struck the next guy out, or not Jack, but who the heck? Tappan was pitching. Got the next guy out, and maybe it's water under the bridge. Nobody thinks about it because that was, the third out of the inning, and they had not scored any runs yet in that inning, and so who knows? But they think they could have, built a big inning and scored some runs. But there's been plays like that. And then I've even heard the thing now with if they had replay back then, would the replay went and showed that I supposedly pulled him off the base. I think if you look at it and dissect it, you'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think replay would have overturned something like that. It's one of those, judgment calls. It happened in the moment, and you can certainly see it both ways very, very easily, just kind of depending on how you look at it at the moment.
Ways.
I know you can't. I can. I've come to the point where I can see it both ways. So that's a step. That's a step for me at least, right?
The bad part about it is my mom had death threats about it.
Oh no.
I had death threats about it. I mean, there was FBI people in the dugout at the ball game in Atlanta. That's where it really got bad. Which really bugged me more about anything was just the stuff that people went through to try to, really upset my play in the game and our team's play. And I had my phone shut off in Atlanta. Believe me, I didn't have very good experiences while I was there for 3 days in Atlanta.
No, and that's something like that's obviously way, way, way over the line. I enjoy more the banter about it than anything. But let's move past that at this point. Let's talk about Game 6 and Game 7. Game 7 in particular, and just what transpired there. Obviously, the Puckett, the catch and the home run, and just what the mood and him telling you, I'm going to put this team on my back kind of thing. And then Game 7, just the drama of it. Even though I was watching it, as an Atlanta fan, I still know to this day that was the best game I've ever seen, even though it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to at that point.
Right. First of all, you're talking about Game 6 and Puck's deal. Puck was pretty notorious at the time for always saying, "Hey guys, jump on." He would do that like every day in the clubhouse. He would say, "Jump on. It's my, I'm carrying the load." He would say that. All the time. Matter of fact, I remember Randy Bush walked out of the clubhouse one time and he wasn't even in the starting lineup. And he said, "Jump on, boys. I'm carrying the load today." And he wasn't even in the lineup. So just mocking Puck. I mean, that's the kind of
increase your odds when you do it every day. That way, when it does happen.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's just the kind of club we had. We had guys that had fun and goofed around like that. But, Puck's, they brought in Lee Brennan in the 10th inning there and we, what the heck is going on here? What kind of move was this to have him face Puck right off the get-go? And everybody kind of looked at each other in the dugout and said, "This is over." Not that Puck was going to end it with a home run, but we knew Puck was going to hit it hard someplace like he always did, and hopefully we could get him in. But then you turn to Game 7 after Puck's heroics. Was a beautiful night, and of course you got to get your rest and get back into it. So we had to try to throw all that out of our minds. And the people, when they came in the building in Game 7, they were still reeling over Puck's home run and his, all the excitement. And we had to, I remember TK telling us strictly, that's over with. Let's regroup and let's take, the day at hand now. That's over with. We haven't gone any place yet. That was just a win. It wasn't a championship win. So, yeah, just trying to get prepared for the game and trying to come down from the huge high we had the night before and playing our game 7, which to me, I always tell people just watching Jack, I wish I could have had a lawn chair out there and sat in a lawn chair and watched it because to me it was a masterpiece. Not only Jack, but Schmaltz as well pitched a tremendous game. So if you want to look up pitching and great pitching for one game, I don't have to look any further than that game, I don't think.
No, and then obviously, the moments you remember from that game, Pendleton hitting that ball into the gap at Lonnie Smith getting deked around second, so he only gets to third. Jack gets out of that inning, and then there's back and forth. You almost forget all the back and forth there was. Both teams had chances to score in the late innings, and you finally get that one across. You get Gladden to second base to start the bottom of the 10th. You got to be feeling good at that point, but again, you'd had a lot of chances that you hadn't been able to cash in yet at that point, so you didn't know, right?
Exactly. That's kind of what the deal was. Is like I said, we both had so many chances to win so many different games in different parts of the series. Again, that one was Danny had a great leadoff double, a good hustle and double after breaking his bat in half on the pitch, and hustled it out to second base, and then we were looking at the lineup trying to figure out. I'm sure TK was thinking, what are they going to do here? Who are they going to pitch to, and this and that, and I thought for sure that I was going to get pitched to because I was struggling, but they decided to load the bases up and give Gino a shot, who at that time was hurting as well. He was walking around on a bum knee. But the odds were, I think, against us to win that ball game in the last inning because, like you said, everybody had chances to score some runs, and we could never push anything across on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's again, remembering a feeling is not an easy thing, I don't think, but just the aftermath of that game. What do you remember about that when you win, not just win a World Series, but win in such dramatic fashion?
I had a buddy come down to the clubhouse and celebrate with us a little bit, or came down and say hi after a few maybe a half hour, 45 minutes of us enjoying the clubhouse, and was just sitting there on the floor in the I don't know if were you ever in the clubhouse down there at the Metrodome?
Yep. Yeah, I was.
You were.
Yep.
Okay. The little workout room, the weight room there, that was right next to our huge weight room that was about the size of my kitchen, I guess is all it was. But
they've got a few more amenities at Target Field now, I will say.
Yeah, a few more, exactly. But I remember I was sitting on the ground on the floor, and my buddy had came in. One of the clubhouse kids had hollered at me. He said, "Hey, your friend's outside." So I said, "Well, let him in." And so he came in, he looked at me, and he said, "Are you drunk already?" And I says, "No, I'm exhausted."
Yeah.
And we all were. And I think we all looked at each other and said, "Holy smokes, that took a lot out of us." I mean,
yeah,
I don't think I even had a lot of champagne or beer to drink that night because we were just totally exhausted. And I think you could probably ask every one of the players on that team, just mentally and physically. Mentally, you were exhausted. Physically, of course, yeah. You want to play that. That's what you play for, is to be in games like that. But man, you don't realize how much mentally it takes out of you. And I think the fans were the same way. I think when it was over, they just kind of stood there with their mouths open, going, "Holy smokes!" And I think I'm sure they missed work the next few days too because of just the drain, the stress on your head, and and are we going to lose this thing or are we going to win it? So, I just remember it as it took a while to come down from it, but you really didn't realize how much you used up, and I'm glad I was young then when I did it because being older, I don't think we could have made it very far.
No, I mean, you're right. I'm sure the exhaustion of it, even just watching it was exhausting, and participating in it, and right, the mental energy expended had to be, it wasn't just the one game. It was the whole, first you got the grind of a season, then you've got another playoff series, and then you've got these 7 games that are, by and large, all of them pretty close. Maybe there's one in Atlanta that was a little more lopsided, but the rest of them were, by and large, they were pretty, a lot of them were close games anyway, that, you needed to have that level of focus. And you might have heard there was a Halloween blizzard not too long after that. You might have heard that about 1991. What do you remember about the celebration and just, after that, after you win, not just that night, but, the coming days, just realizing what you accomplished, getting to celebrate with fans, things like that. What do you remember from that?
I remember, I think I maybe remember 87, even though it was longer ago, because I remember people painting on their garage doors, go Twins, their garbage cans out in the streets had go Twins on them. There was interviews with people that had worked in warehouses for 50 years of their life, older gentlemen. And I remember one guy saying, "This is the happiest I've ever been at work because everybody's talking about the same thing. And we're all happy and we're all excited," which made me feel good to know that I was a part of making somebody happy. I think that was the cool thing about it. In 91, I remember, I guess we did it again. And all the questions was as cool as 87, blah, blah, blah. I said, it was awesome. I don't care which way you look at it. If you have 2 kids, which one you like better? I like them both. But I remember 91 a lot because of us going to the White House, and we came back that night from the White House on 91, and I actually always would have a big Halloween party here at my house.
Okay.
And have all the kids. I'd have up to 500 kids come to the house.
Oh, wow.
And I remember we pulled back in the driveway, and there was nothing but a bunch of footprints up and down my driveway because we hadn't got home yet and it was snowing, but the kids were still showing up at Halloween that night. So that was, we got it going. We handed out candy before the big stuff hit.
That's good. Couple more things for you, Kent. Really enjoying this conversation about 1991, the Twins special season, no doubt. It probably becomes, when you win 2, it cements a certain legacy for the players who did it. I mean, winning 1 does that, but winning 2 probably brings a certain extra level to that. Have you felt that over the years? When you win 2, do you have that kind of sense of, wow, we weren't just, it wasn't just a one-hit wonder. We did this thing twice in a 5-year span, and that was an accomplishment even beyond just finding a good run one year.
Right. I think that's all a professional athlete can ask for. It's definitely winning 1. Hopefully, I mean, that's what you go to spring training. That's what you play the game for, is to reach the pinnacle. And being lucky enough to be a part of both teams was it's something I hang my hat on. I'm very proud of. And I guess even more so here in Minnesota, where we haven't any other of our male teams, the Vikings or the Timberwolves or the hockey team, the Wild have not won a championship. So I'm ready to party with those guys when they win a championship. I cheer them on as hard as I was cheering the Twins on. So, you hang your head on it. I'm happy about it. And then again, to look at 1992, the year after 91, we had a better record, and I thought just as good a team. And the A's beat us out then, but we had a pretty good run going there. And like I said, it was. I was proud to be a part of that team and proud to be a part of the Twins organization, and still am to this day.
Kent, great stuff. Appreciate you joining Daily Delivery today to help rekindle some great memories for Minnesota sports fans, and just an amazing 1991 World Series. Enjoy the rest of the summer, and we'll catch up again down the road. Okay.
All right, we'll see you at the ballpark. Thanks, Michael. Take care.
You guys probably already know this about me because I mentioned it in the interview with Kent Hrbek, but I was a huge Atlanta fan. That World Series probably remains one of my most devastating sports memories of all time, but I'm glad for all of you that it is such a happy memory. We will continue on with the theme of amazing events in the Twin Cities 30 years ago. Super Bowl coming up next episode on Thursday. Thanks for listening today. We'll catch you again on Thursday.